Hello. In this video, we'll be going over IRS Form 8880, the credit for qualified retirement savings contributions. This is also known as the Savers Credit. The reason why it's probably not more recognized by the majority of taxpayers is because there is a pretty low income threshold in order to qualify for the Savers Credit. So you can see that right here at the top of the form. If your 11A line from Form 1040, 1040 SR, or 1040 NR, that's the adjusted gross income amount. If the line 11A amount is more than $39,500, or if you're married filing jointly, $79,000, and in between head of household, $59,250. If your adjusted gross income is above that, you're not going to be eligible. And as we get through the form, you'll see that even below that, you start seeing kind of partial phase outs of that retirement credit. So we're going to go through this form. First, we're going to cover a couple things that are new. So this form is updated every year based on the dollar amount thresholds that change for the Savers Credit. However, in 2000, so this is the 2025 version of the form. This is the most recent version. In 2026, there will be an updated version of this form. And then starting with 2027 tax returns, so in 2028, the Form 8880, as it currently exists, will only be used to claim the Savers Credit for ABLE account contributions. So ABLE accounts are special accounts that people can create on behalf of persons with special needs that may need they need to be able to shelter certain savings for Medicaid or state-sponsored healthcare reasons. And so an ABLE account allows people to save money without accounting against their overall net worth. So in starting with the 2027 tax returns, that will be what the 8880 is for. There will be a new form issued that year to continue claiming the Savers Credit. So the Savers Credit for most retirees or lower income savers won't go away. It will be on a different form. And then there's as mentioned above, the ABLE credit. This is now a permanent credit based on the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Previously, it did have a sundown period. So again, there are criteria. If the person who made the contribution or elective deferral was born after January 1st, 2008, meaning that as of the 2025 tax year, they were not a legal adult. If they're claimed as someone else's dependent on their tax return, or if they're a student. And so there is specific criteria on what a student is. Let's see, so if you're enrolled full-time during any 5 months, calendar months of the year, if you took a full-time training course given by a school, state, county, or local agency. And this would include technical, trade, mechanical school. It does not include OJT, correspondence schools, or online courses. So let's go ahead and complete this form. So let's just say that John Doe and his wife qualify for the Savers Credit. And we're just going to calculate how much of that Savers Credit they're going to be able to take. So traditional and Roth IRA contributions, this is pretty straightforward, and ABLE account contributions do not include rollovers. So let's just say that they didn't max out their IRA contributions, but they each put down $5,000 throughout the course of the year. Elective deferrals to a 401k. So, let's just say that they didn't really max out their 401ks either. They were well under the limit, but they did save some money, at least enough to maybe match the first couple of percent or, get the qualifying match. So we add those up in line 3. Now, line 4 refers to certain distributions received after 2022 and before the due date of this year's tax return. That would include extensions. So if you're married filing jointly, you would include both spouses' amounts in both columns. Now, the instructions on page 2 discuss what those distributions are. So if you took any money out of a traditional or Roth IRA or an ABLE account, any money out of your 401k, 403b, your ERISA savings plan, if you will, or a governmental 457 thrift savings plan, or any other qualified retirement plan as defined by the Internal Revenue Code. So any distributions, you've got to put that back in there. So, and then you're going to subtract that from line 3. So let's just say that they didn't take out any distributions. So line 5 still represents their total net contributions. All right. So now in line 6, you're going to enter the smaller of either the line 5 amount or $2,000. So $2,000 is the max. And then that is going to be, the total amount that we will calculate the amount of credit from. So line 7 is $4,000. We added both John and his wife's $2,000 together to arrive at $4,000. Now, you're going to enter the amount of their line 11A, which again is their adjusted gross income. Let's just say that for now it's $25,000. We'll play with this number and see what impact that has. So for $25,000, that lines up exactly here. So basically, if you're married filing jointly, you put 0.5, and then you multiply line 7 by the 0.5 number, and we get $2,000. And then there is a credit limit worksheet in the instructions. So I'll take a step and explain what credit limit worksheets generally do. So for non-refundable tax credits, which means a tax credit that can reduce your tax bill down to 0 but cannot generate a refund on top of that, there is a hierarchy of what is allowed. So every tax credit has a place in that hierarchy. The saver's credit is, in this example, subservient to the tax credits on lines 1 through 3 of Schedule 3, and then line 6D and line 6L. So I am going to see if I can pull up Schedule 3. Give me a moment. And see if we can pull that up. So lines 1 through 3, that would include this line right here, the foreign tax credit, credit for child and dependent care services, education credits. Those generally are kind of top tier. You can see right here, this is the retirement savings credit. The IRS does a decent job of getting some of these in order, but they don't do a perfect job because we also have to include line 6D and 6L. 6D is the credit for the elderly or disabled, and then 6L is IRS Form 8978. This has to do with partnership tax returns. So basically, those are the credits that would bump any retirement savers credit. So you would do the credit limit worksheet if you're using tax software. This limit worksheet is running in the background based on what you enter everywhere else. So line 18 basically is your tax liability from your tax return, and you're going to enter the amount of credits that you're already taking that would bump the saver's credit. If that reduces it to 0, then your tax bill is already zero, so you can't take the saver's credit on top of that. And you don't need to file the form. So unfortunately, this is a tax credit that you can't roll over from year to year. So let's just say that your limitation based on tax liability, you qualify for the $2,000. And you're going to enter the smaller of line 10 or line 11 here. So we'll just say that we get $2,000. That would then go on Schedule 3, line 4, right here. So that would go $2,000 here. Now let's play around with some of the numbers and kind of see what happens. So let's just say that this number is now $50,000. Then we're going to go into this column right here. The $50,000 reduces that decimal. Instead of 0.5, it is now 0.2. And what that means is our retirement savers credit is now not $2,000 but $800. And then we would go through the same credit limit worksheet guidance, and we would be putting in the smaller of either $800 or $2,000. And then finally, if let's just say that $75,000 is our AGI, then that means we still can take some, not quite as much as we wanted, but you know, that's still $400 of tax bill savings. And then by the time you get to $80,000, that's completely gone. So you wouldn't even bother filing the form at the $80,000 threshold for any tax bracket. So obviously, you know, your tax bracket will determine, or your filing status will determine which column you use in the line 9 calculation. For a fully qualified couple, your maximum credit is going to be $2,000. But again, for married filing jointly, that phases out at any adjusted gross income amount more than $47,500. For single married filing joint separately or qualifying surviving spouse, that limit starts at the $23,750, and then for head of household, it's kind of in the middle, $35,625. So that's all we've got for this video. We've updated the article in our on our website, and we've included updated links to all the resources we've created about forms and schedules that you may need to refer to when completing this form. So you'll see those in the show notes. If you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. If you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, please post them in the comment section. Thank you very much and have a great day.